On April 20th, 2010, an offshore oil rig owned by Transocean Limited exploded off the coast of Louisiana. Tragically, 11 crew members are missing, and Transocean reports an additional 17 workers were injured. We're going to talk today with Houston attorney Terry Bryant, who has handled these kinds of cases. And Terry, are you on the phone with me now?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Well, Terry, I was actually watching CNN last night, and Douglas Brinkley, who is a noted historian, had some tough words for BP. One of the things he said is, and this is a quote, BP has been cutting a lot of corners on safety issues. And then he went on to comment on their, what he called a mealy-mouthed statement, and said that BP is not facing the consequences of what the company is responsible for. What do you think about that? What's your take on that?
Well, I think BP's had their problems for a number of years. They had the explosion down in Texas City, which brought a lot of attention to that company. And now they have this disaster going on with getting attention from everywhere, including the White House.
Right. What are the facts that we know?
Well, we have about four things that we do know, and that is there are about 200,000 gallons of oil coming out of that disaster right now on a daily basis. This is going to have a devastating effect on wildlife. BP is making their usual response to these kind of problems, which is to talk about how they hope to be safe and that sort of thing. And the disaster may eclipse the Exxon Valdez disaster.
According to a news report I read last night, a lawsuit was already filed seeking damages of $5 million plus undetermined punitive damages on behalf of affected Louisiana commercial industries. And my question to you is, who should be calling an attorney right now?
Well, people that are injured or killed as a result of this tragedy should be seeking legal help now. As far as the fishermen, I can't believe that the lawsuit is only for $5 million in damages. That seems awfully low to me.
And Terry, is there any evidence yet that there are safety violations in this?
I think it's too early to tell that, and probably what will happen is that the government will launch an investigation in addition to BP's internal investigation. So at some point, the facts will be determined and the cause of this tragedy will be determined.
For these injured workers, what do you recommend that they do as a course of action, or their family members for those that did not survive?
I think it's important that the family members of the workers who are missing are protected from a legal standpoint, because British Petroleum has a whole team of lawyers that are working on this case. So it's important that the workers have legal representation as well as the loved ones of the ones that are missing or may have been killed.
Early in this conversation, Terry, you mentioned the Texas City disaster. Was your firm involved in that?
Yes, we were involved in the Texas City disaster and represented a number of people that were horrifically injured by that blast.
And how would you compare what's happened recently to that disaster in terms of the scope of the damage?
From what I've heard, this appears to be one involving much greater damage, both to individuals and to the environment.
Well, Terry, if someone has specific questions, how can they reach you?
They can call my toll-free number at 1-800-444-5000 or find us on the web at terrybryant.com.
Well, Terry, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This is Cindy Speaker reporting.